Homer Simpson has had over 190 jobs besides his job at the nuclear power plant.
You know, I've had a lot of jobs. Boxer, mascot, astronaut, imitation Krusty.
That's right. In this video, we're going to cover as many jobs as we can that we didn't cover in part 1, starting with his job as an acrobat. This job was kinda unusual, but come on, it's Homer we're talking about. What isn't unusual?
I'm a Chinese acrobat.
In the 12th episode of season 16, Goo Goo Gai Pan, Homer lies to Chinese adoption agent Madame Wu about being an acrobat. Soon after, they walk into an acrobatic theater where the star performer of the Chinese acrobatics display suffered a bullet-related death. So, to save the show, Wu manipulates Homer into substituting for the dead performer. And, against his will, Homer does. But after unwittingly pulling off the stunt successfully, Homer got hospitalized. I guess you could say he's resigned from being an acrobat. Chiropractor. After the acrobat incident, perhaps Homer's craziest career change was becoming a chiropractor. In the 10th episode of season 12, Pokey Mom, Homer broke his spine and suffered a grave back injury after a bull kicked his spine at the Prison Bull Rodeo.
Your spine is more twisted than Sinbad's take on marriage.
So he goes to see Dr. Hibbert, who advises him to go see a chiropractor, and surprisingly, Homer does follow Hibbert's instructions. However, after the chiropractor is done treating Homer, he demands that Homer sees him 3 times a week for many years and also gives him some exercises to do, but Homer doesn't do any of that. Later on, he falls backward onto a dented trash can in his backyard and discovers that it solved his back problems. This is when he decides to become a chiropractor. Eventually, he makes a business out of his discovery, and it proves to be a successful method of solving back pain, causing the chiropractic business to decline. He even calls his device Dr. Homer's Miracle Spino Cylinder and charges $40 a pop. He gets many clients, including celebrities, and feels great. Eventually, 2 chiropractors disguised as investors trick Homer and destroy the garbage can at the Simpsons' home. Mountain climber. Besides being a chiropractor, Homer has also climbed the murder horn as a publicity stunt, making him a mountain climber, we guess. And the reason he did this was because Bart told these 2 Power Sauce representatives, Brad and Neil, that Homer can do it. Homer thought it a great opportunity to prove himself and inspire others, so even after Grandpa warned him not to do it, Homer refused to take heed. Eventually, Homer starts his climb, but soon realizes that the mountain is too dangerous and high, so he takes shelter in a cave where he finds a corpse. Homer then plants his flag on the ledge, but this causes a crack that collapses the rest of the mountain, making the ledge the new peak. Homer incidentally reaches the top and becomes a hero. He then uses the corpse as a sled and slides down the mountain, where he is greeted by a cheering crowd. At least he didn't con anyone into believing he was a mountain climber, he actually climbed the mountain. Sadly, I can't say the same about the time he was a con artist. In the 7th episode of the 12th season, Homer was a con artist. He and Bart scammed people out of money to fix their car, and they kept on grifting even after they had enough. They also teamed up with Grandpa, who was an old pro himself, and conned the seniors at the retirement home. But they are eventually duped by a fake FBI agent who stole their money and car. Homer and Bart ended up in jail while Grandpa escaped with a motorized wheelchair. Mascot. Another job we've got to talk about was Homer's stint as the new mascot of the Springfield Isotopes, the town's baseball team. After drawing attention to himself at a minor league game, Homer was hired by the struggling baseball team as the spirit-lifting mascot they desperately needed. As it turns out, Homer's expressive manner and silly attitude helped the team achieve a record number of wins thanks largely to his skill to excite the crowds. Even when he was rejected once by the majors, Homer's job gave him the best chance to earn money while having a blast on a large scale. Krusty impersonator. Homer always has a clear reason for seeking a new job, whether personal to improve himself or financial to support his family. In the season 15 episode, Homie the Clown, Homer enrolled in Krusty the Clown's training college for clowns. So after he graduated, Homer became Springfield's regional Krusty the Clown impersonator to do the jobs the real Krusty would ignore, and also impersonated Krusty at events that the real Krusty deemed beneath him. Events like children's birthday parties and the unveiling of a new sandwich at Krusty Burger. Eventually, Homer got mistaken for the real Krusty and started relishing all the perks and celebrity admiration of being Krusty. He also relished in the dangers because, as it turns out, Krusty was in some deep stuff with the mafia. That's funny, but it doesn't beat the time that Homer was an internet service provider. In the 14th episode of Season 9, Homer starts his own ISP company named Compu Global Hypermeganet and then gives himself the title Junior Vice President.
What really matters is my title. I think I'll make myself Vice President. No, wait, Junior Vice President.
The reason Homer decided to start his own company was because he found out that Ned Flanders had his own home-based internet business. Turns out, Homer has no clue how to run an internet business or what his company even does or what the internet even is. Bro doesn't even own a computer, but he still manages to attract customers, including Comic Book Guy, who asks for a new IP router. Homer just stares at him and demands more money, not understanding a word Comic Book Guy was saying. Homer's company soon catches the attention of Bill Gates, so he is later visited by Bill Gates and his goons, who offer to buy out Homer's company. Homer agrees, hoping to get rich, but Gates reveals that he is actually there to destroy Homer's business.
Oh, I didn't get rich by writing a lot of checks.
And that's not the only time his business got destroyed. Farmer. In the 5th episode of Season 11, Homer challenges a gun-toting Southern colonel to a duel by slapping them with a glove, but when the colonel accepts the duel, Homer flees to the countryside with his family. They flee to the farmhouse where Homer grew up, and Homer becomes a farmer. Turns out, the land is barren and nothing grows on it, but instead of Homer giving up, he calls up Lenny and asks for some plutonium. Then, he uses the plutonium to make the crops grow, but since Homer had mixed tomato seeds with tobacco seeds, a new product is created, which he calls Tobacco.
Tobacco? That's pretty clever, Dad.
He realizes that tobacco is addictive and starts selling it to unsuspecting customers, including Springfield residents. He makes a fortune off of it and also attracts the attention of the executives of Laramie Cigarettes, who offer to buy the rights to it for $150 million. Homer declines it and asks for $150 billion. And while the Simpsons are negotiating, tobacco-addicted animals from other farms break into their fields and eat their crops, except for one tobacco plant. Laramie Cigarettes then steals the last tobacco plant, but while they make their escape in a helicopter, they get killed by a sheep that is high off tobacco. Apparently, that's how his farming days came to an end. Duffman. Homer wins a reality show called So You Think You Can Duff and becomes the new mascot for Duff Beer. He wears a blue and red costume, a red cape, and a belt of beer cans. But he has to stay sober on the job and promote Duff Beer at various events. He soon realizes that Duff Beer is harmful to the people and the environment and tries to change things. He gives out alcohol-free beer at a racing event and tells the crowd that they don't need alcohol to have fun. This angers them and Homer is fired by the manager. Homer then returns to his old life and drinks beer again. This stunt, however, achieves one thing for Springfield. It makes the original Duffman, who had retired, come back to his job. Grease collector. Now, we gotta talk about the time Homer discovered he could make money by stealing and reselling grease in the first episode of Season 10. See, Homer learns from Apu that he can sell grease for a profit, so he begins frying bacon and collecting the grease, but this isn't enough. He then teams up with Bart and forces him to quit school to help him with his grease business. The dubious two eventually steal grease from the fryers at Krusty's Burger. They load it into Marge's car, but are confronted by employees of the Acme Grease and Shovel Company who claim control over the grease and shoveling business in Springfield. They take Homer and Bart's grease and threaten them to stay away from their territory, but Homer doesn't give up. He and Bart attempt to steal the grease in his school's kitchen, but they finally get stopped by groundskeeper Willie, Springfield Chief of Police. In the Season 13 episode, Papa's Got a Brand New Badge, Homer starts up his own security form, Spring Shield, after a blackout causes a citywide riot. He and his friends, Lenny and Carl, patrol the streets and arrest many criminals. Homer then becomes popular and respected and is appointed as the new chief of police by Mayor Quimbley after Quimbley fires Wiggum. You see, Homer ends up stopping one of Fat Tony's operations, practically ridding Springfield of crime. However, Fat Tony escapes and vows to kill Homer unless he leaves town. When Homer does not leave, Fat Tony arrives with a few of his own henchmen, but just before they are about to kill Homer, an unseen sniper shoots the mobsters, injuring them and causing them to flee. Safe again, Homer resigns as police chief and offers the job to the first person who comes along, which is Wiggum. Little did Homer know that the sniper that saved him was his own baby daughter Maggie, ambulance driver. After Homer gets fired from the power plant for causing an accident, he buys a 1959 ambulance and pretends to be a paramedic, driving around the town looking for emergencies. He often causes more harm than good by crashing into things, giving wrong treatments, and stealing from his patients. He also competes with other ambulance drivers who hate him for stealing their business. But unlike other jobs, Homer actually enjoys this one. He, however, neglects his family who are worried about him. He eventually quits the job after Marge writes a novel that makes him emotional. Homer has probably had more jobs than any human ever has, and might be coming for yours too if you don't hit that like button right away. See, I got you there. But why not also subscribe and turn on the notification bell? See you in our next video.